Hello, YouTube, and welcome back to another fantastic episode of Timber Dune, where I think we're safe for now. I don't know if there are any more worm attacks that we need to be concerned about. I don't know if there are any more timers going off in the background that I'm not aware of or anything like that, but we do have quite the mess down here as far as all sorts of different water systems and so on that I would love to, at some point, tap into. There's a lot of water, a lot of bad water, that is all trapped underground. And I would love to get into that at some point. The problem is, gaining access to that requires explosives or another sort of system, like digging into our dirt excavator. The dirt excavator is a little ways out at this point. I don't believe we have enough material or even the traded planks to actually tap into that, which we could get into today. That is something that we do have the science and the capacity to unlock the Tapper Shack. It's just a matter of setting up the industry in order to actually take advantage of that whole system. However, we are running into a little bit of a power issue if you look at this. So power is just barely meeting the demand, at least right now, with half of our industry turned off. Great. And then, of course, this hasn't quite gotten its water reserves restocked quite yet either, so we'll have to get that rectified, get haulers moving that over there, so that'll be a requirement for us to get over and do. And then we're having a bad water issue. And of course, we have plenty of bad water stuck behind this whole shtick right here. So what I'm thinking is we take advantage of what we have stored down under here and actually start pumping that bad water out of there, which would be quite useful for us. Now, we can do that very easily by coming over here, grabbing our bad water pumps, and we start clearing this out right here. We start placing some of our bad water pumps in here, and that will allow us to pump out a fair amount of this poo water that's down here, which will put us in a better position than having only 222 units of bad water available to us. Now that'll allow us to continue to expand our explosive production facilities, industry, and all that other fun jazz. Now, the question is whether or not we have enough material to meet the demand there. I believe the answer is yes, and I would like to also expand our storage capacity for all of that. So we're going to toss in another large tank over here. That's going to be a bad water supply depot. We'll hit that supply button there just so our haulers know that they need to be running that to and fro. Now we can throw in a couple of these small storages here again just to make our pumpers' lives a little bit easier as far as food and water is concerned, so they don't have to run back and forth to get food throughout the day, in theory, anyway. Let's go ahead and get this all rectified. That'll take a few seconds for that to all get built because we are still building this over here, which is taking its time. We might make this a little bit easier for them to make this transition and gain access to all of those goods here. Maybe that'll be a little bit easier for them. I'm not entirely sure if that'll actually meet the intent there, but it is something that we can do. Now, on the power front, we can come over here and rip out our compact water wheels, and we can start putting in our large water wheels. Large water wheels will give us 540 horsepower per cubic meter squared, which would be quite a big bump from what we are currently getting out of the smaller compact water wheels. However, this system doesn't run during a drought, as we can see. So what I would like to do is actually save up the material necessary to unlock the bad water discharge and get this running constantly to provide that additional power for us. Now, that will take a little bit of time. We've got the explosives on hand already. We've got the 50 explosives. We need copious amounts of metal blocks, and we need more gears. So that's going to be a little bit of an issue for us. Again, power's an issue right now. So what I think that we're going to have to do just to meet the demand at this point in time is go ahead and throw in a couple of these steam engines. I don't want to use steam engines because they do consume copious amounts of water, and that's not exactly what we want to have happen. However, there's not much else that we can do about that right now. So that will be a stopgap solution to our power supply crisis that we are currently dealing with. And while these are running, we can start tearing these out and also storing up all of the required items for the eventual uncapping of the bad water source over here. Now that's going to take a little bit of time, obviously, because that's a lot of materials to start storing up, and we need a lot more metal blocks running, and I do not believe we have enough scrap over here to meet the demand. So that being the case, we are going to have to come over here and somehow prevent all of this from continuing to happen. Now that's going to require a couple of things. One, us making it all the way over here, and two, bringing all the material over here to block this area off. Now we can do this a couple of ways, and I think the easiest answer is the tube-ways. And a tube-way station would be nice, but again, we're kind of soft locked behind the total amount of metal blocks that we have available. So we might have to get over here the good old-fashioned way by walking, which is everybody's least favorite activity in this fashion. So it's gonna stink, but we do have haulers that can move material around for us, which will be beneficial, and we can get our builders in the right area, hopefully. Maybe, I'm not sure. Either way, I think that's going to be something that we will work towards. On top of that, I would like to also continue to push our way into here and work through and rip out more of this real estate so that we can store more water in this system right here. Now, this system is going to take a little bit of time to actually blast all this down, so we will work our way through that to the best of our ability, and I believe that should be enough. Now, that's going to take a little bit of time. Again, get in there and place all the dynamite. We only have 70 units of dynamite available to us, and that's going to definitely slow down the timeline because we don't have any bad water, or we don't have much bad water to actually continue to produce the explosives that we're going to need to actually blast all this out. So that all to say, I think we're going to have to just make that trek the good old-fashioned way, and on top of that, we're going to have to get in here and grab this tapper shack, put this right here. Tapper shack's going to have to go there. We will tell them to stop chopping down our beautiful pine trees here, and that will allow us to get copious amounts of resin rocking and rolling for us. I'll let these still continue to be chopped down for now, just to make sure that that is good. What just happened? Why did we lose so many beavers? We lost beavers to some sort of position somewhere. I'm not entirely sure where that happened. We lost one to old age. We lost a bunch of our hauling positions, which isn't the greatest. We'll have to figure something else out. That is halfway full. We can turn that off and keep moving it forward with that whole shtick right there. Okay, so that is in. We're going in, and I would like to continue our trek over here, up and over, and maybe what we can do, well, that's not going to solve anything to solve that for us. We're going to have to come over here, bring this down, and probably go ahead and put in levees around this side. That's going to have to look a little something like this. We're going to have to rip out some of these trees, some of these blockages, but I think that will meet the intent here, and that should prevent this spillover, I believe, because it did not overcap this line, is my understanding, if I recall correctly. And I would like to get this done in this drought cycle. However, I don't anticipate that occurring. Now, we could prevent our beavers from getting sick by just having them walking on top. And that will definitely slow down the whole build process, but it'll also keep them, well, obviously, from getting sick. Now, that's going to be a bit of an issue to get down into. So that'll be something that we'll have to work our way towards. I think we might just drop this priority-wise, give these a little bump up top so that we can get this done and out of the way. Honestly, we can just pause that building and let them continue to work on everything else, and that should meet the intent there. And now we do have plenty of eggplants coming in, so we do need to put in some storage for our eggplants on this side, here, and here. And I think we also need to put in some other storage back here for all of the other materials required for all of this. And I think we need to just wrap that around right in there, and we will go ahead and give you our eggplant. You'll be next step of eggplant, and we'll have more next step of eggplant, and this will be where we'll store our corn in here. We'll do corn rations down here and corn rations down here. At some point, we'll get in and start building our large warehouses, but for now, this will meet the intent. At least I believe it should meet the intent for what we need it to do. Now, I would like to get this all up and running as well, though I would like this prioritized over that. So let's get that knocked out. Let's get all of that in. That shouldn't take but a few moments for them to throw all of that in. We have plenty of materials readily available, so they should be able to run that in without too much issue, and that will be grand. Now, let's come over here. Let's see what we can do as far as opening this up, letting some of this bad water in here. Hopefully that shouldn't cause any issue for all of our foodstuffs over there, and that will be a fair amount of bad water filling in this reservoir on this side, and we can go ahead and close this back up. At some point, I would like to put in a different system. Like, I want to put in a sluice gate system down here with some levees on top of there, so we can drip feed into here all of this bad water until we can get over here and fill this whole system in, or fill that hole up, because I don't want to keep having to deal with this entire tunnel filled with poo water. So that is what I would like to get done. Whether or not that will get accomplished in the near future is yet to be determined. However, that is something that we can endeavor towards, and that is always a good thing for us. Now, we have 1.2k units of water available to us. We have 45 beavers. We call it 100 units per day. We've got 6 days left, 600 units required. We should be able to expand our beaver population just a tad bit. Probably not that much. We'll go up to another 10 beavers on the docket for ourselves, and that'll be a good thing for us to work towards, a good thing for us, for our beavers anyway. Let's go ahead and connect this up. That should make these guys' life a little bit easier, and I think we can pause you two, because I've turned off your access to any of that. Yeah, you guys don't need to be there, so that'll let us clear all of that out, and then we can come in here and probably take that additional beaver, put them in there, and let them work on all of that. That'll be good. All of our storage is in now for our eggplant and our corn, so that these guys can do the harvesting and the planting as needed and on call. That'll be fantastic, and that'll be huge. Now, I think this is going in now, so that is good. We have metal blocks going in, metal blocks doing metal block things. That is good. We are out of scrap, so we're going to have to turn this back on as well. And they can pump all of that out. I think we should probably drop these two, and I would rather have that built before those two built. Now, I think we will... Yeah, we're going to have to get this running. That means probably finding a beaver to put into there. I think we can very easily pause you and grab an additional beaver to work as a scavenger over here, and that can continue to help gather all of that material for us, which would be quite nice. I do want to give this a priority bump so that we can get more beavers growing up. which is occurring. We do have 6 kits, and we do have 3 beavers with nothing to do with their hands right now, which is fantastic. Means we can unpause you, and we can also unpause the gear manufacturers, because I would like to continue to expand our gear production, because we are going to need that to open up the bad water source. We're going to need copious amounts of gears in order to do so. So let's give this a plus up as well. I'm hitting everything with priority, but that will be lower than this priority because that was placed last, and we still have a little bit of a ways to go before our current gear storage becomes an issue for us. Now, I would like to also at some point go ahead and put in a builder's hut so that we can take some of our additional beavers that are going to be growing up here relatively soon and put them into positions of responsibility, i.e. building for us, which will be quite nice in the grand scheme of things. Now, this does need to be a prioritized construction site, so we can get that taken care of as soon as possible. Otherwise, it's going to take 14 years for them to get that built because I have given them so many things to build. It also reminds me that we are going to definitely need more power. Now, we can save a little bit of power by pausing this for now, and we can probably turn our food factory for our corn rations on, since we do have a little bit of corn floating around, which will provide us with another bump in our total happiness for our beavers. And I do need to turn this back on, and that's going to put us down to 3 haulers, which is not the greatest. Yeah, we need these kits to grow up and faster. That is a requirement. We do have plenty of berries floating around, so that is good. We can continue to expand our beaver population. We do have our first bit of corn rations that just popped out, so that's good. Probably might need to think about throwing in some additional farmhouses to meet that requirement here because they're not reaching out enough, but we're also pretty much capped out on our soybean. No, we're not capped out. We're halfway to soybean max, and all right, that finally went in. So good. Okay, we are really needing beavers somewhere. That's in. You're probably taking your time running back and forth. That's what's causing that delay and all of that. And I would like to... Let's pause you for now. There's no need for that to be going. And don't want to break that or pause that. We're fine on those, so we can get the haulers back up and running. That'll be fine. That'll be good. I would love to get this in so we can start producing our treated planks so that we can start with or start removing our breeding pods and get into the advanced breeding pods. We don't have to deal with this whole waiting for adults to get out and do all of the jobs for us, which would be really nice. However, that's going to take a little bit of time. I have given them too much to work on. Okay, so let's give that a priority bump. Let's get that knocked out. Get that out of the way. That's going to take an additional beaver from us, which is not exactly the greatest thing. I do need to tell you to have no priority there. Get that done. I don't know why I planted eggplants over here. That really wasn't necessary because we have plenty of eggplants over here. But that is fine. That is acceptable for now. Awesome. 450 units of water available to us, and we're about to have to pause a bunch of positions to get more water pumpers up and running. And I think we never did get into here because, again, everything was a priority elsewhere, and that's kind of awful, but it is what it is. Come on, I would love to have a few more of these kits reach maturity so I can get them right into work. That would be awesome. That would be huge. Okay, I think we can pause you for a moment. think we can also come over here. Did you guys clear these out? You did. So I can make this line a little bit nicer. Rip out this unnecessary pathing right there. That is in. Now we can actually grab pine resin. Let's put our pine resin into another warehouse over. I think pine resin would probably be better up here, close to this whole area. This is where our industry is going right now, so that is probably the best spot for it. We might put a small storage over here and give that a put that as a supply depot for our haulers. So you can be pine resin, you'll be supply, and you guys will be obtain on this end. And we have the science, and we should have all of the materials to go ahead and turn on a few things on that end. Didn't realize there was still a little bit of water down there. That's all good. Now we are pumping water. We have 250 units, and we are going to need to probably pull back on the building for a moment while we pump out copious amounts of water and let our haulers help out with that whole process. And I think we'll go ahead and pause you, get you somewhere else. Continue to do hauling things for us, which would be huge and really well appreciated. We can rip that out over there, put in a little bit more cassava right there, let them do their jobs, and that'll be fantastic. Now, corn rations we're doing pretty good on. We can probably swap those two. Or honestly, we could just change this to eggplant rations for a moment. It's going to consume canola oil, but that is okay. We have a little bit of that still floating around, still maxed out. We're not consuming that quite as fast. So that is fine and dandy. And I am here for it. Okay. Well-being's at 21, so that's fantastic. I would love to see these kits grow up a little bit faster than what they currently are, because we are very slow rolling all of the processes that I would love to have done as quickly as possible. So we're going to go ahead and put in our first builder's hut, give this a max priority, get that taken care of. That will give us a little bit of something for our beavers to do during the bad tides and temperate cycles. And that will also help, hopefully, expedite all of these buildings, or all these builds that we are pushing right now. Now, on top of this, I would love to come over here. We'll put a couple of these in on this end. That can be logs. We'll do logs as well. And obtain. Obtain has been selected. We'll throw that in there. And then let's see, what was this required? A lot of sparkly planks. So we can't even get the efficient mine up and running because that requires 300 of those planks, which we obviously do not have. And we just lost 7 positions. That's all going to be haulers back here, which is not cool because they put this builder's hut in there. So now we can go back to haulers, and we're going to pause you. That can be a position for them to work in at a later point in time. Eggplants are now turning into eggplant rations, which is fantastic. That's going to make our beavers that much more happier, and that'll be amazing. Let's pause you, flip you onto that side just to make sure that that side stays nice and green for us. And make sure that we come over here at some point as well and get somebody in there to dump our water into that whole system. That is all drying up, which is not the greatest. So we'll open this up just a little bit to let a little bit more bad water in here. And then we'll close all of that. I think there it goes. Now the volcano has exploded. We'll keep an eye on this just to see what happens on this end. I really don't think it goes above this layer, so that should not be an issue for us. All of this kind of spills out to the side and slowly spills out to the left and to the right. Yeah, like I said, I don't believe it goes above that. It should be okay. So we can get over here maybe, hopefully, during the next drought and continue working our way into gaining access to that. But that also gives us more time to spend expanding our beaver population and also expanding our industry. Now, speaking of industry, over here we need copious metal blocks, which are slowly being produced. We still need 31 metal blocks to get that finalized, which will take its time. We should be working at not a good efficiency. What is happening here with efficiency? Scrap metal. Hit the obtain button there. And you are supplied there. Now our haulers should be able to help out with that. We can pause you now. Get you back to doing something productive like hauling. And probably get that builder back in there. So that'll be fine. That will be fine, I hope. Okay. Great. This is not great, but we're not in a bad spot. At least I hope that we're not in a bad spot. Food's doing a lot better now. We've got 2,000 units of food. We're not eating our berries. Alright. See? Berries are not being eaten. They're being placed into our beautiful breeding pods. Which is a good thing, you know. We like to use our berries in our breeding pods instead of eating them, you know. Yeah, no. Unpause that. We have a drought approaching, so that is going to be a little bit of an issue. We did have a max temperate cycle, and we have been pumping away, so that is good for us. That will probably be sitting in around 2K again. I would like to actually throw this in right there. Give this a max. And then do the same for these guys right here. Just so that we can blast this back. And continue to feed more water down into there. Okay. Now we have 2 additional beavers with nothing to do with their hands. Now we can unpause you. You guys can go be builders. That will help expedite all of the other systems that we need to keep going. That'll be good. That is still at 3/4 of max height, so that is fine. And we still have 6 kits that are about to reach maturity as well. Probably want to come over here and get that turned on instead of having this turned on over here. We still have 3 builders going. Let's get this going. Get some more bad water. We'll have to pump that out as much as we can, and we need to turn this on as a prioritization for haulers. We are still at 1,700 out of 855, so I think once we have a few more of these kits reach maturity, we can turn on a few more of these systems in here, which will provide us with even more power, which will be huge. On top of that, I believe it's time to even expand our deep water pumps just a little bit. We'll hit that button there. It will provide us with a little bit more water procurement. I think we can hit this button without too much issue. Now that's all connected, and that will be a huge storage area for even more water, and we can continue to pump that out to our heart's content. Awesome. That is fantastic. That is amazing. Gives us plenty of water storage down in there. That'll be really good for future-proofing everything for our beavers. Now, food's good. Water's good. Beaver population still not in the best of positions. Power's in a much better spot than it was previously, so that is good. I think what we can start thinking about doing now is ripping this out and now putting in our next system, which is going to be our wood workshop. Can go right here. We put this in right there. We grab this. Connect that all up. And that gives us access to this over here when we need to start moving that way. And that is just waiting on metal blocks. I think we're good to pause this for now. I would like them to be focused on something else since we are still exceeding our power demands. at least with the number cruncher paused. That should be fine. All right. Don't want to pause you because we're still producing dynamite, which we are going to still need copious amounts of. I would like for this to all get built at some point in the near future, but again, everything else is being slowly built. There's our drought. It has kicked off. This is going to be the longest drought to date, which is not great. However, we have plenty of water down here for us to pump out for the next 20 days. We'll have to continue to pump water into these systems, though, so that's going to be quite the annoyance. But we do have a little bit of water stored up here in these huge reservoirs. I would like to actually get these two a little bit of a priority. And I do need to drop everything else down here, otherwise nothing else is going to get built. Do need to rip this out and put in our triple dynamite here. And continue to drop priority on all of this. Oh, that was the wrong button. There we go. Builders are going to take 15 years to move all of those but down elsewhere. Why did you guys never build this? You guys never touched that. It's also because I never put that on a decent priority. Okay, there we go. That can get done. I would like to actually get this ripped out, please. So that would be great. That would be huge. All right. Okay, let's swap you back over to corn rations. And give this a minor bump here. Awesome. I think it's awesome. 2,000 units of water. We have plenty of water down here to continue to pump out. I don't want to blast this out. It's just not gonna really save us or help us do anything to continue to blast that out right now during the drought. All right. Happiness is good. That's fantastic. I would love to put in some places like a swimming pool or something along those lines, but I'm not quite there yet. We are still slowly meeting all of the other demands elsewhere, and that's kind of causing me a little bit of annoyance because I would love to get things moving a little bit faster. But I can only move so fast at the speed at which these kits are growing up, which is fine. That is in now, so now we can store even more pine resin. This will be the next thing on the docket. Not this, actually. Yes, they have started putting all of those in. That is okay. This is slowly working its way through. We've got copious amounts of scrap. Still haven't brought scrap over from here, so let's give that a priority. That is becoming quite the annoyance, actually. Let's blast that out so you can keep pumping water, though. That'll be good. And that's what we want to see. 2.4k units of water, so that will meet the demand for the remainder 20 days. We still have a little bit more water left to continue to pump out, so we'll probably be sitting at about 600 to 700 units of water as we roll into the next cycle. And we are slowly expanding our water storage capacity in the reservoir, so that is good. Cool. Bad water is slowly being pumped out here. That's probably going to be done now. I think we can open this up a little bit. Fill that reservoir in. Turn this back on. Pause you two. And give that priority so they can knock that out real quick. And now, since we are in the middle of the drought, we can actually get over here and finish this system, and that will be huge. Or at least put all of that in, which will be good. I would also like to get this done so we can start storing all of those planks and the likes. I also want to give that a little bit of a work there. And let's put in a little bit more storage on this side. So you can be treated planks, you can be regular planks, and you can fit in one more here for more treated planks. Now it's going to take a little bit of time. The plank production is 1 per 3 hours, and we need how many? 300? 300. So it's going to take a little bit of time to actually get the amount of treated planks that we're going to need for that system. So we might put in 2 or 3 just to expedite that whole process. Now we only need a couple or even 1 or 2 to go in order to start replacing these breeding pods with the advanced breeding pods, which is kind of what I'm leaning towards doing, so that we can actually get that taken care of. Or, sorry, so we no longer have to deal with the constant cycling of kits to adulthood, which is not exactly the most fun and or entertaining thing for us to do. Now, we are at our total 2.4k units of water, which is not the greatest, but that's what we have. I'd also like to save all of our corn and all of our eggplants over here, so that's good. That's on, that's on, that's on, and you're the only one that's paused. Let's turn you back on. Let's get you in as well so we can have more builders running about the cabin. And that should, in theory, expedite everything else going in. Now, since we are in the middle of a drought, we can throw in the stairs, give that a priority, but also give this a priority so our haulers can move all that material across the way a little bit more quickly. And that will make our lives a lot a bit easier, hopefully. So I'm going to tell myself in order to sleep a little bit easier at night. Okay, so we are at 2,000 units of horsepower available to us, and we do have 1 beaver with nothing to do with their hands, so you can go be a builder as well. That puts us at 8 builders and I think 7 haulers, which is okay. It's not the greatest, but it will do. I do want to probably hit this button to prioritize that. And that should alleviate a little bit of our builders running halfway across the world. We might throw in... Well, let's look at this first. Don't throw that in there. 450 gears, so we are going to have to move gears over here. And there's also 300 logs. We've got 300 storage of logs there, and we're going to need even some of the treated planks on this end as well. So let's get that in. That can be something that they can work towards. That's even more gears, which we have 383 gears available to us, which is fantastic. Want sparkly planks there. That's good. We can get back into doing that. We would also probably not be in a bad spot to put somebody in right here and rip all of this out. A bit of lumber that'll make their lives a little bit easier. Give that a priority build position, and that'll be good. And now we have an additional 2 beavers that can go into hauling, and that'll make everybody's life that much easier, which is good. It's fantastic. The next beaver that we get to reach maturity is going to go into this food factory for us, and then we'll probably throw them into another plank manufacturing position or unpause this over here. Honestly, I'm leaning towards unpausing you because we're eating through our logs pretty heinously and doing this all over here. All right. I would like for you to focus on that, but this is fine. Please do not get yourself stuck on the other side of that. Let's just tell you to stop working on that side. Okay, that'll work. That'll do everything on that end. Metal blocks are at 42 now. That is good. A thing that we could even tackle is getting over here into all of these ruins. But I think the answer is sparkly planks. So I think this is going to be the priority. Get this all done. And we might even unpause this just for giggles, and that will be great. I hope. I think. Yes. All right. We'll get that in. We can probably unpause or pause you. Lumber is getting chopped down, so that is good. Like I said, I would like to get this in as well. That shouldn't take too long for them to get that in and taken care of. There's plenty of logs still being pulled over here. They should not have any issues just building this out for now. At least I hope that is the answer. Hope is not a Koa though, so let's not play that game too much. What are we doing down here? We're doing pretty good on total bad water. That is awesome. We're at 700 units, which is really good. That means that we can produce plenty of explosives. That should allow us to, at some point, get in here relatively quickly and get that done. Which means let's do something small, like throw in small explosive there and a small extract storage there. Give that the bump that it deserves to get that accomplished sooner rather than later, and that will make things that much better. Now, all of our secondary builders are occupied elsewhere. It's not the greatest. Again, that is in now, so that is fantastic, which means we have sparkly planks. All right, so let's take a look at these. Okay, that one's going to be probably the first candidate to get replaced. As soon as this one reaches final few seconds, we'll rip that out and unlock the advanced breeding pod. And we also need to turn on the extract system sooner rather than later. Okay, last few seconds. Gotta love staring at these breeding pods. All right, cool. That's done. Housing, advanced breeding pod, 1000 science goes in, blasted into there. Give this a max priority build. Get that done and dusted so we don't have to stare at that for the next 14 years. And that will be grand. All right. I think we've got 1.5k units of water and we've got 12 days remaining. I think we might have to slow down a little bit of our water consumption on the fluid dumps right now. I really don't want to touch the food fluid dumps because that is not conducive to keeping our beavers alive, but I think we can probably pause a couple of these. We're not consuming all of that water in that area, which will be a good thing for us. I love it. Give that a priority fill command there, and we have beavers that are growing up. And now we have our first advanced breeding pod in. That will mean that everybody, or we can start replacing all of these kits with actual adults, which will be huge. It'll be grand, and I'm happy to see it. Think we might, once we have more of this blasted out, we can think about expanding our beaver population a fair amount. Let's see here, you're bored, so you're paused. Give this a priority build spot. That'll be good, and let's go ahead and throw in our levee here. We're ripping through those trees. Can you reach all the way down there? You can. Let's go ahead and put in this levee right here and right here. And we do have this aquifer here, which is nice. It means we do have a place to get water on this side. And we could even start making all of this green with some sort of river system. But I would like to have a reservoir to feed said river instead of being solely reliant on the temperate cycles, which are few and far between. Again, hard mode is great in that regard. You know, you gotta love hard mode. You got to love hard mode a lot. All right, let's get that turned back on there. And I did say that I wanted to get this food factory on. So eggplant rations and corn rations are now actively being produced. So we no longer have to be concerned with that moving forward. We do have 21 treated planks on hand, so that is pretty fantastic. I would like to probably go ahead and start just replacing a few of these without waiting on them reaching maturity. Let's go ahead and just rip all those out. Pause the game. Put all these in real quick. I think we can expand beaver population just a tad bit. Give this all a priority cleanup and placement for all of that, and that will be grand. And these 6 kits will be our last kits in this colony, which is kind of sad, but also good for the future colony and its livelihood. At least that's what I'm going to tell myself, so that these guys can sleep at night. We need to continue moving that down there. I don't think this needs to be prioritized anymore. We do want to hit this obtain button so the gears can make their way over here, and we want this to be obtained as well so that the sparkly planks can make their way over here as well. Now, we are consuming all of those sparkly planks, though, and putting in all of these breeding pods, which is going to take a little bit of time. And we did consume a fair amount of our metal blocks as well, which is not the greatest, but it is for a good cause. We've replaced what we've taken out, and the last thing that needs to go in is just the expansion of our beaver population, which is acceptable. And that being in means that our beaver population will expand quite heinously, honestly, which is a good thing and a bad thing. We have 1,000 units of water available to us, and we have 9 days left. So we're on the cusp of being in a water problem, which is not good. Not the greatest. But we are doing better on bad water, which is good. It means that we can continue to produce all of our extract and continue to produce all of our explosives, which means we hit this button here, hit this button here, get that material pushed over to here, and we can probably get our builders in to take care of that relatively quickly, and that will make sure that we can store even more water. Store even more water for the future. So this is nearing completion. I'll probably let them finish that, but I think we will go ahead and remove this lower priority on all of this back here, and also throw in our triple dynamite back here as well. I think that'll be a good thing. And how? All right. Awesome. Extracts now being actively produced, which is good. I do need to... I don't want to prioritize that by haulers because, again, it's not a good thing to prioritize things or prioritize everything. Everything's a priority, nothing's a priority. That old adage is true all the time. Oh, you guys didn't build that? Really? Whatever. That's fine. You don't need that one brazier there. They also didn't clean up these logs and berries. Let's get that a priority so they can get that ripped out of there. That would be good. They did all stop this work over here, though, just because I turned this up, which is fine. We're burning through our extract pretty heinously. Putting all this in, but this is probably for the better. You guys are bored, so we are out of scrap on this side of the map. What we have is what we have until we can produce enough sparkly planks or get into that and somehow prevent ourselves from getting exposed to copious amounts of poo water, which is not a good thing for our beavers. We don't want that. I want to do this playthrough without having a single sick beaver, and I'm going to try my darndest to ensure that that occurs, alright? Okay. These are... We have had our first adult make it to... Or make it out of the advanced breeding pod. So that is really nice. Really, really nice. Building lacks goods. You lack pine resin. That means that we need to get pine resin back up and running. That probably explains why that whole system has slowed down. That's entirely on me. And you can't reach this side, which is kind of stinky. And I don't know why you're in there or why you're in here. So you're both fired. It gives us more beavers, which means all of those are now full. Probably means that we can now go ahead and grab ourselves another hauling post. That in there. This will be a low workplace priority. We'll pull that up to 10. We'll give this a max build priority just to get that out of the way. Now that will cover down those 5 beavers that are doing nothing with their hands because they all reached maturity at basically the same exact time, which is fine. Not fine because we're out of water. So we are going to have to pause these guys for now. Probably pause a few of these things over here. Let's stop consuming that water. Okay, we can pause you guys. A couple of these gear production facilities. Okay, this is not the greatest thing. I would also like to pause one more thing. Probably pause you, but I need the metal blocks. I don't need the metal blocks. Metal blocks aren't required to build the efficient mine. We can pause you for a moment. All right. We are going to have some very sad beavers for a day or two. Which is not the greatest. This should meet or be fine. That should be fine for 5 days. This should be fine for 5 days, and that should meet the intent. Awesome. All right. I would really love for this to all get done now. Should have all the explosives. We're just waiting on extract to fill out everything else, which is taking its time. Is really taking its time. Doesn't help that their productivity's kind of low. We do have a few more beavers that can actually help out with the hauling, so we can turn on the priority. Probably gonna have to let that sit. The berries aren't going to expire anytime soon, and the trees aren't going to expire anytime soon. That is fine to continue to go like that. And we'll do the same on this side. I'm not going to be dumping any more water into that. Got 2.5 days, 250 units of water. Great. Absolutely great. All right. You guys are out of extract and berries, which is okay. Extract is being consumed elsewhere, which is an absolute requirement. All right. So for the next couple of days, I'm going to let them continue to work their way through all of this. And we'll call the episode here. So as they continue to do all of those wonderful things, we'll blast this out as soon as we can. and get everybody in, and we should be fine moving into the beginning of this next temper cycle. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this episode. It doesn't seem like we did a lot, but we expanded a fair amount of our future progress or future capacity, and we're expanding the colony that much faster. We're going to dip into something a little bit more early than I normally do, which is efficient mines, but this map is definitely driving us into that a little bit earlier, like I said, than I originally anticipated. Just due to the fact of the lack of scrap. But it's all good. We have the means, we have the will, we have the way, we have the capacity to succeed, and our beavers are doing amazing things. Anyway, I appreciate you all for being here. I hope you have a wonderful day wherever in the world. Make sure you guys stay nice and safe, nice and thirsty, and keep rocking the free world. We'll see you all in the next episode of Timber Dune. I'm out. See ya.